Before the wedding, I suddenly broke off the engagement, abandoning Shinku, whom I had always loved deeply, and instead choosing Jiang Wang, whom I hated the most. Everyone was shocked, including Jiang Wang. He thought I was playing a trick on him, and his voice was hoarse. You said I'm a stalker, a lunatic, a pervert. How could you possibly choose me? You clearly hate me the most. Yes, I used to hate him the most. But it was precisely him, whom I hated the most, who, in my previous life, when I was kidnapped, was the only one who abandoned everything to save me. He even died a tragic death under the knife to protect me. Given a second chance, I took his hand. From today on, I don't hate you anymore. Can I love you instead? Jiang Wang lowered his gaze, gave a self-deprecating smile, and didn't believe me. I'm so crazy. How could you possibly love me? Why not? After all, now I'm crazier than you. I'm not available this afternoon, when I just woke up. Shinku's voice rang in my ears. He was tidying up his immaculate suit, his tone cold. It's just about trying on the wedding dress. You can go by yourself. I was a bit dazed. One moment I was still in the damp, dark, and bloody dock warehouse, and the next second I was back here, hearing the familiar voice saying the familiar words. I actually had returned to this day many years ago. Seeing that I didn't reply, Shinku thought I was reluctant. He glanced at me disdainfully, and his tone became even more impatient. Are you still a 3-year-old child? Do you need someone to accompany you for everything? Do I need to remind you that you're already an adult? I raised my eyes to look at him. He didn't have any work arrangements this afternoon. He was in a hurry to go out because his secretary, Sunanan, cut her finger while making lunch. From the video she posted on Moments, the wound wasn't serious, but she was crying as if the sky was falling. When Shinku saw that Moments post, he was about to leave. Presumably, it was to accompany her to the hospital. He left me, his fiancée. For this reason, in my previous life, I didn't want to quarrel with him. I endured the grievances and made concessions again and again, but what I got in return was 3 years of coldness and loneliness after marriage, until finally, the kidnappers set their sights on the wealth of the Shin family and kidnapped me, the wife of the Shin family, asking me to get money from Shinku. On that day, Shinku was celebrating Sunanan's birthday. The content Sunanan posted on Moments showed a wonderful time, saying that Shinku had queued up for a long time to buy the cake she wanted to eat, but such a Shinku didn't even want to answer my call. I dialed Shinku's number with trembling hands. It took more than a dozen attempts to get through. Finally, when the call was connected, Shinku's voice was cold and full of impatience. Kidnapped? To make me accompany you, you even came up with such a disgusting trick. Aren't you tired? If it's really a kidnapping, then let them kill the hostage. He cruelly hung up on me, cutting off the only rope for me to survive. The angry kidnappers realized that I was of no value to Shinku and wanted to take action against me. In the moment of crisis, the one who came to save me was someone I never expected. Jiang Wang. I had known him since my student days and had always hated him. When I hated him the most, I would even have nightmares just by looking at him, but it was this person whom I hated to the core who came to save me with everything he had worked so hard to obtain. When the kidnappers decided to silence me by killing me, it was also him who protected me. All the knives that were supposed to stab me landed on him. His blood gushed out and landed on me, so hot, until the end. He let out a faint sigh in my ear. He said, if there's an afterlife, can you please stop hating me? Thinking of Jiang Wang, my nose felt sour. I stood up and walked towards Shinku. Shinku thought I was going to hold him back and not let him leave. Immediately, his face turned cold, but I walked past him, opened the wardrobe, and took out a pair of stockings. Shinku frowned and sneered. What are you going to do? Seduce me? I thought this guy was crazy. I put on the stockings and said to him, Shinku, we're tired of each other. This is really boring. It's time to end it. Let's not get married either. Shinku lost his last bit of patience. What are you going crazy about now? I'm serious. The emotions in Shinku's eyes completely froze. In his anger, he didn't even want to say another word to me and directly slammed the door and left. I didn't bother to pay attention to him. After putting on my coat, I started packing my things. I put all my daily necessities into the suitcase, and the rest were packed into several garbage bags. When I carried the suitcase downstairs, I said to Aunt Lee in the house, Aunt Lee, please throw away those few bags of garbage in the bedroom for me. Aunt Lee stared at me in surprise. Are you going out? Won't you be back tonight? No, I won't be back. I smiled happily. It was the brightest smile I had in a long time since I moved in. Never, ever coming back. After going out, I called all my relatives and friends to inform them of my decision. I also posted a message on Moments saying that the wedding was cancelled and pinned it to the top. Everyone was extremely shocked, because they all knew how much I loved Shinku. when I was 10 years old, the Wen family's business failed and was squeezed out of the market in Jing City. My parents started running around all over the place to find projects to save the Wen family business, and they left me alone at home for years. Shinku, who was in the same school as me, noticed that I had no parental care. He pitied me and took more care of me. When I reached the age of first love, I naturally fell in love with him. Later, my parents finally returned to Jing City. They discovered my feelings for Shinku and realized that they could use me to get in touch with the Jiang family, a powerful family, so they forced me to make connections. With their efforts, the elders of the Shin family finally agreed to the arranged marriage. I was extremely excited. But I didn't expect to see Shinku's cold face. I then realized that his kindness to me had always been out of pity, not love, but at that time, I stubbornly believed that Shinku would be moved by me one day. However, until the day I was kidnapped, I realized that it was all my wishful thinking. My parents regarded me as a tool, and Shinku regarded me as trash. Only Jiang Wang, a person I had never looked at properly, held me dear in his heart and risked his life for me. When the police arrived and rescued me on the day of the kidnapping, I held Jiang Wang's gradually cooling body in my arms and proposed a divorce to Shinku, who had arrived late. I thought I would be very sad, but actually I wasn't. After that, I tried to get to know Jiang Wang. So I learned that everything that made me hate him at the beginning was a misunderstanding, and all my malice towards him came from prejudice. He had tried so hard to get close to me, but I pushed him away cruelly again and again. I finally fell in love with him in the 3rd year after his death. That was also the year when I ended my own life. Before I died, I had only one thought: if I could have a second chance, I must love him deeply and be with him. Fortunately, God showed mercy and fulfilled my wish. It allowed me to return to the time when everything could still be made up for. After calling everyone, I turned off my phone and drove directly to Jiang Wang's company. The Shin family runs an electronic technology company, and Jiang Wang is Shinku's competitor in the industry. Unlike Shinku, who inherited the family business, Jiang Wang started from scratch. He didn't know how much hardship he had endured to finally reach where he was now. At this time, Jiang Wang's company had just managed to gain a foothold. Not only did Shinku target him everywhere, but it was also surrounded by other companies like wolves. This was exactly the most difficult time for him. I parked the car, walked into the company gate, and the receptionist politely asked me, "Madam, is there anything I can help you with?" I said, "I'm here to find someone. I'm looking for Jiang Wang." The receptionist was stunned when she heard Jiang Wang's name. After a moment of reaction, she asked, "Do you have an appointment?" "No, just ask him to come down." The receptionist was completely confused. After asking my name, she started making a phone call. When the call was connected, the receptionist said, "Mr. Jiang, there's a lady looking for you. She said her name is, I don't know her. Ask her to leave." He started chasing people away without even listening to the whole name. He was really unfeeling. I simply snatched the phone receiver. "Jiang Wang, are you sure you want to chase me away?" There was an immediate silence on the other end of the phone. After a long time, a deep and gentle voice came, "Wait for me." When Jiang Wang walked out of the elevator, I was dazed for a moment. The last time I saw him in my previous life, he was tired and his hair was messy. After taking the knife from me, his face was pale and there was blood all around his body. He was in a sorry state, and now he hadn't experienced all that yet. His tall and handsome figure stood out among the crowd. His overly outstanding appearance made the people around him couldn't help but look at him. When he walked in front of me, I could clearly see his cold and handsome face and a small mole at the corner of his eye. Strange, why didn't I notice that he had such a mole in my previous life? My direct gaze made Jiang Wang's expression a bit unnatural. "Is there something you want from me?" I smiled at him. "Can't I look for you if there's nothing?" "No, it's noon. I'm hungry. Can I treat you to a meal?" Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment, a bit surprised. "You want to have a meal with me?" He couldn't believe it. In the past, I couldn't avoid him enough and would never make such a request to him. I took a step forward, getting closer to him, and looked straight up at him. "Yes, don't you want to?" Jiang Wang pursed his lips and nodded slightly. I stretched out my hand and asked him, "Do you want to hold hands? I'll count to 3. 1, 2. Before I could say 3, Jiang Wang had already raised his hand and gently held my fingertips in the shocked gaze of the receptionist lady. He was incredibly obedient. The restaurant was reserved by me in advance, and it was a seat by the window. The midday sun shone down, and through the gaps in Jiang Wang's eyelashes, it fell into his eyes in fine pieces. It was incredibly beautiful. Thinking carefully, in fact, Jiang Wang was good-looking since his youth, but at that time, he was too taciturn and gloomy, and he did things like stalking and harassing me. which made me full of disgust and fear towards him. When I saw him, it was like seeing a fly, and I had no intention of paying attention to his appearance or anything else. After his death, I gradually got to know him bit by bit from his life remnants and the few words that others said about him. He was actually a very good person. Jiang Wang was very quiet at this moment. His gaze fell on the hand that I had held just now, and he seemed a bit lost in thought. Compared to his madness and solitude in his youth, now he had a bit more coldness and self-restraint. Only when he occasionally glanced at me, there was a suppressed fire in his eyes. I took the steak that he had cut for me and took a big bite in his somewhat nervous gaze. A few traces of surprise and joy appeared on his face. Just because of such an action of mine, he could be emotionally affected. Until he saw the wedding ring on my finger, the light in his eyes suddenly went out, and his tone became cold. "Did you come to me to give me a wedding invitation?" I was stunned for a moment and quickly took off the ring. I had thrown away so many things before coming here, but I actually forgot about the ring. The ring was ordered in a hurry by Shinku, and even the size was wrong. It was a bit loose on me. When I moved my finger, it fell off. I casually threw the ring into the trash can. "There won't be any wedding," I said. "It's over between me and Shinku." Jiang Wang's expression didn't change, and it was obvious that he didn't believe me. "A month later, there will be a project bidding in the southern part of the city. You want me to withdraw and not compete with the Shin Corporation, so you came to me, right?" "What are you talking about?" I was a bit speechless, but more than that, I felt distressed. The previous one you would definitely not show Jiang Wang a good face, let alone have a meal with him at the same table. She would only give him a cold look and was even stingy with a glance at him, so it wasn't strange that he didn't believe me and thought I was approaching him with some purpose. I said, "I'm not lying to you. What I said is true." Jiang Wang's eyes were calm, and his voice was very low. "You're impossible to leave him. You clearly love him so much, but I don't love him anymore now. Love is built up by countless small details, and of course, not loving is the same. Countless times of soup that was cooked and then cooled down. Countless nights when I couldn't wait for him no matter how long I waited. The phone calls that couldn't be connected no matter how many times I tried or were hung up as soon as they were connected. And the cold words that hit me one after another. In the last period of time, when I saw him and Sunanan going around together, my heart was numb, and I didn't feel any pain at all. Perhaps before that kidnapping, or even earlier, I had already stopped loving him. The atmosphere during this meal was strange. Jiang Wang kept silent, and I didn't know how to start a conversation, so I kept picking up food for him. All the dishes I ordered were his favorites. Of course, I learned this from others. Jiang Wang basically didn't touch the other dishes. He only ate up all the food that I picked up for him. When this meal was over, I left the restaurant side by side with him. He said, "I'll take you back." There was a little bit of disappointment and sadness in his tone. Although he tried to hide it, I still heard it. I laughed and said, "But I have nowhere to go back to now. I just moved out of Shinku's house today. The suitcase is in my car. My parents want to drag me in front of Shinku to apologize, but I don't want to go back anymore. I have nowhere to go now. Jiang Wang, can you take me in?" Jiang Wang stared straight into my eyes without blinking. "Are you serious? You want to move into the home of a stalker like me?" When he said the word stalker, there was a faint hint of self-deprecation and sarcasm in his tone. I answered him with my actions. I directly took out my luggage and stuffed it into his trunk, got into the passenger seat of his car, and then obediently fastened my seat belt. Jiang Wang looked at me for a moment, pretending to be calm, and got into the car, but I clearly saw the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he simply couldn't suppress it. I thought to myself, just keep pretending. It didn't take long to arrive at his home. Jiang Wang lived not far from his company. On a high floor of a commercial building, the area was quite large, but because there was hardly any soft furnishings, the space looked very empty. It was really too desolate and quiet. It was more like a larger office than a residence. Jiang Wang paused for a moment at the door. "Are you really going to move in?" "Yes, don't you welcome me?" Under the warm light in the entrance hall, I saw his Adam's apple move slightly. "No." I stepped closer to him and softened my voice. "Jiang Wang, what are you afraid of?" In fact, I knew what he was afraid of. He was afraid that I was just doing this on a whim. He was afraid that I would dislike him even more after getting to know him. He was afraid that I would step back without hesitation after getting close to him. Jiang Wang's voice was hoarse. "I just didn't expect you to come to me. I didn't expect you to be so close to me." "Is this close?" "This is just the beginning." I raised my hand and gently encircled his waist. It was just a half-hugging gesture, but Jiang Wang froze like a statue and instinctively grabbed my wrist. His voice was faintly trembling. "When you, no matter what you want to do, I admit that I've lost. Please don't play tricks on me anymore. I'm not playing tricks on you. I'm serious. I took the initiative to stand on tiptoe and kissed him. I was a bit glad that I didn't reapply my lipstick after the meal just now. Jiang Wang's lips were cold, soft, and very kissable. He took a slight step back in surprise, and his waist hit the low cabinet in the entrance hall. During a break in the kiss, I stroked the side of his waist and smiled, saying, "Brother's waist is like a deadly knife. Can you let me touch it? Do you know what you're doing? I know. I'm seducing you. I'm so annoyed. Are you done or not?" I lost my patience, squeezed into his chest, and kissed him even more forcefully. At first, Jiang Wang was shocked and too stiff to move. But this state of his didn't last long. The part of his neck that I kissed gradually turned a light pink, his body temperature rose quietly, and he couldn't help but hug me back. His breathing became rapid and disordered. Finally, he picked me up directly, strode into the bedroom, and threw me onto the bed. When his body leaned down, I saw the thin layer of sweat on his forehead. Even at this point, he still retained some rationality. If we continue, there will be no turning back. I never had the intention of turning back. I put my arms around his neck, rolled over, and pinned him underneath me. My fingers slowly traced across his chest and unbuttoned his shirt. "Jiang Wang, I've come to love you. In this life, I will never leave him again." I knew that Jiang Wang was crazy, but I really didn't expect that he was this crazy. After we fooled around for an afternoon, I no longer had the initial arrogance. I could only plead with him in a hoarse voice and a soft tone. But this damned man didn't show any sign of stopping at all. In the end, it ended with me gritting my teeth, shedding tears, and resentfully scolding him for being a beast. Even though he had stopped, Jiang Wang's body was still hot. He remained silent and gently put his arm around my waist. I leaned into his arms and was about to fall asleep. Then I heard Jiang Wang say something very softly. "Why, you fool, it's because I like you." Jiang Wang was silent for a while, then let out a hoarse murmur. "It's impossible. There's nothing impossible." I looked up and kissed him, then smiled. "You must not know that it was God who allowed me to come to you. Otherwise, it wouldn't have let me come back." Jiang Wang didn't understand, but seeing that I closed my eyes, he didn't ask any more. Instead, he just held me tighter. "If this is a dream, then let this dream last a little longer." I woke up from hunger. I groggily glanced at the wall clock, and it was 6 in the morning. After going crazy for an afternoon yesterday, I fell asleep before having dinner. After a whole night passed, the hunger was making my stomach churn. The side of the bed was empty, and Jiang Wang wasn't there. I didn't know if he had gone back to work again. Somehow, I felt a bit empty inside. My clothes from yesterday were all wrinkled, so I simply found some of Jiang Wang's clothes to wear from the wardrobe and walked out of the bedroom. It was just getting dawn in the early morning. The living room wasn't lit, and it was a bit dark. As a result, I didn't see the person sitting on the sofa. Just as I walked to the entrance hall, suddenly a hand grabbed the wrist of my hand that was about to open the door. Half of Jiang Wang's figure was hidden in the dimness, and his voice was deep, thinking of leaving. Before I could say anything, Jiang Wang said again, "I won't let you go. You broke into the home of a madman like me. Why do you think I would let you go back?" Jiang Wang exerted a bit more force and pulled me into his arms. His fingers caressed my face. He didn't have much of an expression, but the emotions in his eyes were intense, revealing a deep-seated paranoia. "I even want to lock you up here so that you can't leave." I looked at him speechlessly for a long time. After all, he couldn't hide it anymore and revealed his crazy side. Is it possible that I don't want to leave at all? I took his hand and placed it on my flat belly, looking pitiful. "I'm hungry and just want to buy some breakfast." Presumably, he had been in the somewhat cold living room for a long time, so Jiang Wang's hands were cold. He was silent for a moment and then pulled me back from the entrance hall to the living room. "What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you." Then, vegetable pancakes and shrimp congee. Jiang Wang walked into the kitchen and tied on an apron. I obediently waited at the kitchen door and watched him cook. Jiang Wang's inherent temperament was distant and cold, but at this moment, when he rolled up his sleeves, for some reason, he seemed to exude a bit more tenderness and warmth. He moved nimbly and skillfully, and soon the kitchen was filled with the aroma that made my stomach growl. After the breakfast was served on the table, I enjoyed it to my heart's content. The shrimp congee was fragrant and delicious, the vegetable pancakes were soft and tender, and with a glass of milk, it soothed my hungry stomach. Jiang Wang just watched me, until I was full. He silently went to clean up the dishes. While waiting for him in the living room, I took out my phone and turned it on. The moment I turned it on, a flood of various messages came crashing towards me. Before I could catch my breath, Shinku's call came through. I pressed the answer button. Shinku was breathing heavily, and his tone was gritted with anger. Where did you go?" What does it have to do with you? It's all over between us. A qualified ex should be like a dead person. I can go wherever I want. It's not your place to ask, is it? Shinku was taken aback. In the past, I was always submissive and would never lose my temper in front of him, let alone say such things to him. Presumably, Shinku was really angry, and his voice became even colder. Just because I didn't accompany you to try on the wedding dress, you're doing this, when you've really grown some guts. Don't think too highly of yourself. Anyway, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Let's part on good terms. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked him. Then my father's call came through. As soon as I answered, a furious roar came from the other side. What on earth are you doing with Shinku? What conflict can't be resolved that you have to go this far? Do you know that our family's business still needs the help of the Shin family? Your business? What does it have to do with me? When I was a child, they were busy with work and only left me in the care of a nanny. Later, while they were running around, they had another son. That son has now started to take over the company's affairs. And I've always been like an irrelevant item in the family, to be used to exchange resources for the Wen family when I reached a certain age. In my previous life, I still cared about this family affection, but right after I divorced Shinku, they said that I actually abandoned the family for a dead person and didn't hesitate to drive me out of the house. I was alone, guarding Jiang Wang's ashes, wandering outside for 3 years. No one cared about me until I died. After going through life and death once, I've already seen through them. At the end of the call, I said, from now on, stay out of my business. If you do, you can still get a share of the pie. Otherwise, I'll expose all your previous dirty deeds and make sure you have no way out just like me. He cursed at me very harshly on the phone, but I didn't care. The obedient daughter they once had already died on that dark and silent night. Now, when you no longer wants to waste any emotion. Jiang Wang was still in the kitchen, but the sound of running water had stopped for a while. I didn't avoid him when answering these 2 calls and put them on speakerphone. After hanging up the phone, I walked to the kitchen and looked at the man standing there in silence. Did you hear that? I really won't marry Shinku. I've also broken off with my family. Now I'm all alone, with no relatives to rely on. I have nowhere else to go except here with you. I walked over and gently shook Jiang Wang's arm. Jiang Wang, I want to marry you. Will you agree? Jiang Wang turned to face me, and the way he looked at me was like looking at a dream that could shatter easily. He seemed to be talking to me, and also seemed to be talking to himself. But, you said I'm a stalker, a lunatic, a pervert. How could you possibly choose me? You clearly hated me the most. Yes, I used to hate him very much. He had no parents and grew up in an orphanage. Even when he was at school, he had to pick up some waste to exchange for living expenses. So many people laughed at him and bullied him, just because I pitted him and called the police to rescue him when he was surrounded by a group of gangsters. He had been pestering me ever since. He started stalking me, on the way to and from school every day. As long as I turned around, I could see him following behind me from a distance. There were even many times when I opened the window at night and could see him standing guard downstairs at my house. Even when I went to university, he applied to the same university as me. Just because a senior confessed his love to me, he broke one of the senior's arms that night, and the senior had to take a half-semester leave of absence. His behavior really scared me. In those years, whenever he got a little closer to me, I would hysterically scold and shout at him, telling him to stay away from me. For a long time, he was my nightmare, but it wasn't until after he died that I learned the truth about everything he had done. Jiang Wang was indeed paranoid and crazy, and sometimes his actions could be very extreme, but he would soften all his edges only for me. I was the only one in his heart. I hugged Jiang Wang's waist and looked up at him seriously. From now on, I don't hate you anymore. Can I love you instead? Love me? Jiang Wang lowered his gaze and gave a self-deprecating smile. I'm so crazy. How could you possibly love me? The thorn I had stabbed into his heart back then was too long and too deep, making him feel so inferior that he simply couldn't believe me. I had to pull out this thorn. Okay, I'll give you a chance to explain to me why you're so crazy. I pulled him to sit on the sofa and asked gently and patiently, Jiang Wang, why did you stalk me in high school? Jiang Wang lowered his eyes. Because you called the police to help me then. I heard them say they were going to take revenge on you. So he followed me every day to escort me. He was worried that those gangsters would cause trouble for me. Standing guard downstairs at my house was also because he saw the other side lingering near my house. At that time, besides me and the nanny, there were no other adults in my family to protect me, and he was worried. There were even many times when, without my knowledge, he alone blocked those gangsters. Once, he was seriously injured and didn't come to school for a long time. At that time, I was even glad that he hadn't pestered me for many days, but I didn't know that he had several broken ribs. He spoke very softly when talking about these things. In fact, he had once wanted to explain to me, but at that time, I was full of fear and prejudice and simply didn't listen to his explanation. As soon as he opened his mouth, I scolded him and told him to get lost. Later, he simply didn't say anything. I touched the side of his waist with a distressed feeling. The bones here had been broken for me, yet I only found out about it many years later. Then in university, why did you fight with that senior? After you rejected him that day, he wasn't willing to give up. He had prepared drugged drinks in advance and told his classmates that he must get you. I found out about this. So in his anger, he broke the other person's arm, making that person no longer dare to have any thoughts about me. He showed his kindness to me in the way he thought was right, but such kindness became the original reason for me to hate him. Now that I had listened to his explanation, I sat up straight, adjusted my attitude, and sincerely apologized to him. I'm sorry, you were actually protecting me, but I misunderstood you for so many years. In my previous life, I also apologized. But it was in front of his tombstone. But now, Jiang Wang was right in front of me. Hearing my apology, he was a bit at a loss. It's not really a misunderstanding. I'm indeed a lunatic, perhaps because my eyes were too sincere. He rarely had the willingness to pour out his heart. My birth wasn't expected by my parents, so they abandoned me. Because of my unlikable personality, no one was willing to adopt me. I always felt that I was a wandering soul in this world. And when I was completely disappointed in this world, I was going to leave, but I didn't expect to meet you. On the day those people surrounded me, the reason I didn't resist was that I wanted to leave. Many people passed by, but they all didn't want to get involved in trouble. They just took a quick glance and left. Only you stopped. Even though you were very scared yourself, you still called the police and screamed at them to stop, while waiting for the police to come. You looked at my wound and asked me with a crying voice if it hurt. At that moment, I suddenly didn't want to leave anymore. I wanted to lock you up, to make you cry and laugh only for me, to care about and care only for me. Even now, I still want to do that. You clearly helped me, but I want to trap you forever. I listened with tears in my eyes. He has endured so much suffering, yet his essence has never changed. Just because he received a little bit of kindness from me, he repaid me 1,000-fold or even more. But you didn't do that after all, I said. You clearly wanted to trap me, yet you still gave me my freedom. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed away from me and quietly watched me get engaged to Shinku. I sniffled, went over to hug him, and stroked his back to soothe him. Jiang Wang, I came for you. I will never leave you. I promise. Jiang Wang gently encircled my waist. I heard his voice, soft as a sigh, in my ear. Can I trust you? If you don't trust me, who else do you want to trust? Not wanting to see him feeling down anymore, my hand smoothly slipped into his clothes. Jiang Wang, after a full meal, one should do some exercise to aid digestion. Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment and didn't understand. Then shall we go for a walk outside? I'm talking about exercise in bed. After thinking for a while, I added, on the sofa is also okay. I was still wearing his shirt. I deliberately unbuttoned one button, revealing a large expanse of my collarbone and shoulder. Mr. Jiang, are you in? I watched as his breathing gradually became rapid, and his Adam's apple moved. Okay, I laughed and looked up to kiss him. That thorn was finally pulled out by me. For a long time after that, I lived in his home. I disliked that his home, which was like an office, was too desolate, so I set about renovating it. I added warm-colored throw pillows to the sofa, placed fragrant and beautiful flowers on the dining table, put vibrant green plants in the living room, hung oil paintings that I had carefully selected on the wall, and I even specially printed out the photos of him and me and placed them on the living room shelf. Jiang Wang really liked these changes. I always thought this was just a place to sleep. Now, it finally feels like a home. But he was only not very satisfied with the position where the photos were placed. He stared at the shelf for a long time. The next day, he came back with several photo frames containing our photos. One was placed on the sideboard, one on the TV cabinet, one on the bookshelf, one on the desk, one on the windowsill, and one on the bedside table. I was a bit speechless. Do you like these photos so much? Yes, I do. Jiang Wang smiled and hugged me. Especially, really like them. Even his phone screensaver was changed to a photo of the two of us. It just so happened that in that photo, I was being playful, lying on his back pretending to bite his ear. Why do you have to choose this one? Can't you choose a more decent one? But I like this one the most. I like it when you're so intimate with me. Is that not okay? Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, my heart immediately softened like water. and I quickly shook my head. It's okay, you can use whichever one you want. Then I placed an order for an anti-peeping phone film that night and replaced it for him. This photo could only be seen by him. This was my last bit of stubbornness. By Jiang Wang's side, I truly experienced what it was like to be loved. He was meticulous. He remembered every one of my preferences. He could even notice some of my small habits that I wasn't even aware of myself. And he could even keep track of my menstrual cycle. He was clingy. He seemed to be addicted to me. He would be anxious to find me if he couldn't see me for a moment. Like a kitten, he liked any form of physical contact with me. There was only one thing that I couldn't quite bear. That was this man. He was simply like an animal. As soon as night fell, he would reveal his crazy side. Every time we were intimate, he seemed to want to blend me into his bones and blood. Many times, he left me in a state of blurred consciousness. But even though I couldn't bear it sometimes, I still loved him for this. I loved it when he lost control because of me. I loved the small gesture of him kissing the side of my neck when he was in a state of passion. I loved the small mole at the corner of his eye that became even more alluring when he was sweating. And I loved his self-restraint when, even though his desires were hard to quell, he stopped all his actions because he felt sorry for me. In the middle of the night, when I woke up from my dream and escaped from that damp and dark warehouse, I gently stroked the hand on my waist, and only then did I feel at ease. Suddenly, the hand on my waist moved. He touched me, and his voice carried a hint of sleepiness. Why are you sweating so much? Did you have a nightmare? Yes, I dreamed that you died in the hands of others while trying to save me. Jiang Wang's actions paused. He turned my body around to face him and kissed me. Don't think about it. It was just a dream. What if it wasn't a dream? What if this is something I really experienced, and I really watched you leave me right in front of my eyes? As I spoke, I felt my eyes moisten. Jiang Wang, just as you cherish me, I also cherish you very much. So if there really is a critical situation, I hope you won't risk your life. Let's live together. Okay. The moonlight shone through the window, and the sheer curtains fluttered in the breeze. Jiang Wang took my hand, placed it in his palm, and kissed it gently. Okay, let's both become old men and women and spend our whole lives together. And, thank you for cherishing me. My heart suddenly trembled, feeling a tingling sensation that was both itchy and painful. Mr. Jiang, you have to keep your word. Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. Yeah, I will keep my word. The next day, I prepared to go to work, saying it was going to work. Actually, it was just going to a coffee shop under my name and sitting there for a while. When I was with Shen Ku, he didn't allow me to work, so I was confined at home by him every day. When I was really bored out of my mind, I found my best friend, Chen Rao. I provided the money, and she provided the effort, and we opened this shop together. I just desperately wanted to prove that I also had some value in life. Even Shen Ku didn't know about this. I only told Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang drove me to the shop. We chatted and laughed all the way. Before getting out of the car, I leaned over to kiss him as usual. Dear boyfriend, come pick me up tonight. A gentle light flashed in Jiang Wang's eyes, and he nodded. Okay, let's go home together. After getting out of the car, I watched Jiang Wang leave. Just as I walked into the shop, I didn't expect to see my best friend, Chen Rao, with a pale face, desperately winking at me. I sensed something was wrong and immediately wanted to leave, but as soon as I turned around, I saw Shen Ku. He was still dressed in a suit and looked meticulous. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his arms. A tall and slender man holding flowers usually presents a gentle image, but at this moment, his face was very solemn, and there was a strong anger in his eyes. No wonder I couldn't find any trace of you these days. So you've been with Jiang Wang. He strode over, and his sharp gaze swept over my face, which still had a happy blush, my neck with hickeys, and my lips that were still red and swollen from the kiss. The emotions in his dark eyes gradually turned crazy, and he said through gritted teeth, no wonder you left without any warning. It turns out you had already hooked up with him. How long have you been wearing this fucking green hat on me? I also got angry. Watch your mouth before you speak. Is the upbringing of your Shen family to wrongly accuse people without evidence? Cut the crap. Shen Ku stuffed the bouquet of flowers into my arms and then tightly grabbed my wrist. I admit that I've neglected you all this time. I apologize to you. Stop making a fuss. I'll pretend that nothing happened between you and Jiang Wang. Come back with me, and our wedding will be held as scheduled. I was a bit surprised. He had clearly seen how I was with Jiang Wang. How could Shen Ku, who was so arrogant, still say such words as asking me to go back with him? So I immediately said, are you out of your mind? Outside the shop, the crowd hurrying to work was bustling. Inside the shop, Shen Ku and I were in a tense standoff. His body was tensed up tightly, and the hostility emanating from him was almost overwhelming. yet he forced himself to stay calm, and even a blue veins popped out on his forehead. Under what circumstances will you come back with me? In the past, my mood would definitely have been affected by him, but now, I was calm and there were no ripples in my emotions. I shook off his hand forcefully. I won't go back. There's no love between us. Spending a lifetime tied together will only make both of us suffer. Isn't it better for me to leave early and set you free? My words were like a thorn. Shinku was instantly enraged, and he raised his voice. Who said there's no love? We clearly. He suddenly stopped and looked at me in a daze. He finally realized. He realized that during the years we were together, he had never treated me well. I lowered my eyes and looked at the bouquet of roses in my arms, and said sarcastically, do you know, I've never liked roses. They were bright red, vivid, and very beautiful, but I've always disliked such intensity. I prefer the delicate and elegant lisianthus. This kind of rose is liked by other girls, and Sunan also likes it, but I don't like it. I raised my hand and threw the bouquet of flowers into the trash can beside me. Shinku was stunned. His gaze fell on my hand. The ring, where's your ring? He suddenly became agitated again and forcefully pulled my hand. Where's the ring? Where did the ring go? Chenrao was startled by his sudden shout and quickly ran over again. Don't cause a scene in my shop. Let go of Xiaoyu. Get out of the way. It has nothing to do with you. Chenrao was pushed aside by him and hit the table. I was worried about her and wanted to check on her condition, but Shinku held my hand tightly and wouldn't let go. That's our wedding ring. Why aren't you wearing it? Screw the wedding. Who wants to marry you? When you don't call me. I feel disgusted when you call my name. I was also furious, even if it meant my wrist might break. I still tried to break free, but Shinku let go of my hand the next moment. He looked behind me. Is it because of him? I turned around and saw Jiang Wang striding towards me. Chenrao was clutching her waist beside me, grimacing in pain, and she waved her phone at me. She had immediately informed Jiang Wang when she saw the situation was not good. Fortunately, Jiang Wang hadn't gone far. Many people didn't approve of my relationship with Jiang Wang, but Chenrao was one of the few who did. She said she just wanted to see me happy. As soon as I saw Jiang Wang, the anger I felt towards Shinku instantly turned into grievance. I ran towards him and threw myself into his arms. Jiang Wang picked up my hand and looked at my wrist, which was a bit red from being pinched by Shinku. He looked at Shinku, and his gaze had already turned cold. Mr. Shin is a decent person. I thought that no matter what, you wouldn't do something like taking out your anger on others. Shinku stared at me intently and sneered. The matter between me and Wen Yu is none of your business, but this time she chose me. She would never choose a pervert like you. Shinku's attack came without warning. The next moment, his fist swung over, Jiang Wang's head tilted to the side from the punch, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. In an instant, my blood boiled, and I raised my hand and slapped Shinku hard. The whole space fell silent immediately. I was so angry that I was trembling. Who I choose is my business. It's not your place to interfere. I held Jiang Wang's hand with one hand and pulled Chenrao with the other. Let's go. I'll take you to the hospital. I led the two of them and turned to leave without looking back, so I didn't see that Shinku stood there, looking at the bouquet of flowers I had thrown away, with a dazed and helpless expression. On the way, Chenrao insisted that she just bumped into something and it wasn't serious. Then she got out of the car and asked me to take her to find her boyfriend. On the phone with her boyfriend on the way, she exaggerated her suffering a great deal and also cursed Shinku's ancestors for 18 generations. After Chenrao got out of the car, Jiang Wang said that his injury was minor and there was no need to go to the hospital, so I bought some medicine and went home with him. When I was applying medicine to the corner of Jiang Wang's mouth, he suddenly squeezed my hand. That's when I realized that my wrist hurt and it had already swollen up. It wasn't because of Shinku's pinch, it was completely because I had used too much force when I slapped Shinku. As the force has an equal and opposite reaction, my hand also got injured. Jiang Wang sighed and took the medicine from my hand to apply it for me. Next time you hit someone, remember to wear a wrist guard. I thought about it and shook my head. No. Next time I'll use a hammer, if he provokes me again. I'll smash his head. Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. He whispered in my ear, so this is what it feels like to be favored. Although I said that I would love him, perhaps he never really felt it until today when I unhesitatingly stood up for him in front of Shinku. He said, I'm very happy, Xiaoyu. I kissed him and said, in the future, I'll give you even more love. Jiang Wang nodded gently. I'm looking forward to it. But I still have a question. I propped myself up on my elbow and looked at him. You're clearly very good at fighting. How could you not dodge Shinku's punch? Although I'm not a professional, I've at least watched several bare-knuckle brawls. No, boxing matches, so I could tell that that punch was very slow and was completely that of an amateur. Jiang Wang coughed softly and didn't look at me. He punched suddenly, so I didn't dodge it. Tell me the truth. Because I took the punch on purpose. I wanted you to feel sorry for me. Huh, so crafty. I snorted and continued to apply medicine to him. Then your plan worked. I do feel sorry for you, so next time, don't do this again. After saying that, I added, next time, don't get beaten. You can only beat the other side. Jiang Wang couldn't help but laugh. Okay, I promise. Because I didn't want to be pestered by Shinku anymore. Chen Rao simply closed the shop temporarily and went on a trip with her boyfriend to relax. I also didn't go around randomly. When I was free, I would go to find Jiang Wang. He was busy with work, and I didn't disturb him. I just stayed in his office. While he worked, I watched dramas beside him. Jiang Wang in the company was always meticulous, serious, and cold, and the office was always very tidy. But since I came, there were a bunch of snacks that girls liked on his clean desk, and there was also a pink backrest pillow specially for me on the chair. The whole company knew about my relationship with him. When I went to the pantry to get coffee, Jiang Wang's female assistant was also there. Her name was Xiao Kai, and she was a very gentle and quiet girl. Every time she saw me, her eyes held a very complex look. I knew how she felt. It was probably the same feeling I had when I looked at Su Nannan beside Shinku in the past. I smiled politely at her. After getting my coffee and about to go out, she suddenly summoned up the courage to stop me. Miss Wen, please don't abandon him. Without you, he will die. I stopped in my tracks and turned around. Xiao Kai's eyes were a bit red. She stared at her own toes for a moment, and then suddenly bowed and apologized to me. I'm sorry, Miss Wen. I spoke out of turn. You don't need to say sorry. I believe what you said, because what she said was true. On the eve of my wedding in my previous life, she suddenly came to find me in the heavy rain and begged me with tears in her eyes to meet Jiang Wang. At that time, I was full of disgust for Jiang Wang and stubbornly believed that this was a trick played by Jiang Wang. After saying a lot of harsh words, I drove her away, but right after my wedding, Jiang Wang really ended up in the hospital. If it wasn't for Xiao Kai desperately breaking into Jiang Wang's house and sending the unconscious Jiang Wang to the hospital, Jiang Wang would really have died. Jiang Wang was a madman. He was extreme and crazy in his bones. He was tough on others, and even tougher on himself. I couldn't imagine how desperate he must have felt when he watched me get married. You can rest assured, I said to Xiao Kai. This time, I will definitely not leave him. Xiao Kai smiled with relief, but there was still a hint of bitterness in her smile. Then she left the pantry. The next day, I saw Xiao Kai's transfer application on Jiang Wang's desk. She volunteered to go to a branch office in another city. Seeing me pick up that application, Jiang Wang said, Xiao Kai has excellent working ability. Staying here, she can have better development. I don't understand why she wants to go to the branch office. Why, of course, it was because she liked him, but couldn't be with him, so she wanted to stay away from him. But I didn't say this, I just said, she's a very nice person. I hope she can have a better future. I had thought that since I had already had a falling out with Shinku and wasn't seeing him anymore, he should have given up. But I was wrong. Shinku was almost going crazy. He crazily suppressed Jiang Wang in the business world and maliciously snatched several projects from Jiang Wang. But Jiang Wang never told me about these things. If I hadn't accidentally heard the company employees talking about it, I wouldn't have known anything at all. It wasn't easy for Jiang Wang to establish his company. I knew how important this company was to him. Shinku's actions were really despicable. A strange phone call suddenly came in. As soon as I answered it, I heard Shinku's voice. Jiang Wang is going to be finished. Do you still want to stay with him? I was very angry. Shinku, you were just a scumbag in my heart originally. And now you can add the label of a despicable person. Is that how you think of me, aren't you? Shinku was silent for a moment before saying, I'm right downstairs of Jiang Wang's company. Come out, and I'll explain it to you. I actually wanted to hear how he was going to explain it. Just as I was about to rush out, I suddenly turned back and went to Jiang Wang's office. Jiang Wang was looking at some documents. When he heard the sound of the door opening, he looked up. The moment before, his eyes were indifferent. But the moment he saw me, they were filled with tenderness and warmth. What's wrong? You're running so urgently. I opened my arms and threw myself into his arms. He smiled and caught me, allowing me to sit on his lap and twist restlessly back and forth. Dear boyfriend, my unlucky ex-boyfriend is here and says he wants to explain to me about snatching your projects. I'm going to listen. Is that okay? Jiang Wang held my waist and tilted his head to think for a while. From the perspective of a boyfriend, I don't want you to go, but I know he won't give up. If he doesn't see you this time, there will definitely be a next time. then I'll go downstairs and listen to what he has to say. After he's done speaking, I'll come back. I want to have lunch with you. Okay, sure. With his approval, I got up and went downstairs. Shinku was standing leaning against the railing. There were wrinkles on his suit. His hair was a bit messy. And there were a lot of bloodshot eyes. This was the first time I had seen him in such a sorry state. I walked up to him. Alright, go ahead and say it. He stared at me for a while before saying, Jiang Wang is nothing more than an upstart. Without these projects, his company won't last long. Do you really want to spend your whole life with a poor guy like him? I really shouldn't have come down. I shouldn't have believed that anything normal would come out of this dead man's mouth. If that's all you want to say, then you should go back. I turned to leave, but he grabbed me. I don't believe that you really want to be with him. You clearly hated him the most before. I don't believe that you really have no feelings for me anymore. With a tug, I was pulled into his arms. He slightly lowered his head, seemingly wanting to kiss me. The sudden feeling of my hair standing on end left me no time to think. I directly raised my hand and pushed him hard. I used so much force that Shinku stumbled and almost fell down. When I turned around, I saw Jiang Wang not far away. I suddenly understood that Shinku had seen Jiang Wang just now, so he made that move. He just wanted Jiang Wang to see me in an intimate situation with him, but he didn't expect my reaction to be so resolute. Shinku's expression was very ugly. There was a strong sense of unwillingness in his eyes. I didn't look at him anymore and directly ran towards Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang welcomed me, and there was a barely noticeable trace of darkness in his gaze as he looked at Shinku. After returning to the office, I sat beside Jiang Wang. I didn't expect that I would bring you so much trouble. This isn't any trouble. Jiang Wang smiled and looked at me. The biggest trouble for me is if you don't want me anymore. I will never not want you. I looked at him seriously. When you will be tied to you for the rest of my life. That day when we got home, Jiang Wang and I went crazy again. As soon as we reached the entrance hall, we couldn't wait anymore. He picked me up directly, and my back was against the wall. My arms could only feebly wrap around his neck. During a break in the kiss, Jiang Wang panted softly and said, Xiaoyu, you have no idea how happy I am. Before I could respond, I was carried to the bed by him again. When the frenzy came, I couldn't help but grasp the quilt, but my hand was held by someone else. His fingers interlaced with mine, and every single one of them intertwined with mine until I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, Jiang Wang was hugging me tightly. I felt it was too hot and pushed him. You, give me some space. Jiang Wang's eyelashes trembled in a half-asleep and half-awake state, and he pulled me back just as I was about to escape. No, you're being unreasonable. I'm just being unreasonable. After getting along for a long time, I realized that this man was actually quite naughty. I could only sigh and lie back down. What else could I do since I chose him? Of course, I had to spoil him. During the day, Jiang Wang went to the company first. I made some preparations and rushed over before evening came. I brought a bouquet of flowers. They were midnight tulips, a mysterious and elegant dark blue, which was also Jiang Wang's favorite color. When I walked into the company, everyone was very surprised. A group of people watched me walk into Jiang Wang's office. I hid the bouquet of flowers behind my back and walked in. Standing in front of Jiang Wang put down his work and smiled at me. What are you hiding? Guess. I can't guess. With a clang, I took out the flowers. This is for you. Do you like it? Jiang Wang was a bit surprised. He took the bouquet of flowers, and a fine layer of joy spread in his eyes. He gently stroked the petals of one of the tulips with great care. Why did you suddenly think of giving me flowers? Because I like you, so I want to give you beautiful things. Most of the time, flowers are given to women, but men also need romance and surprises. Unfortunately, many people overlook this now. Jiang Wang's hand that was gently stroking the flowers suddenly paused. Then he took out a small box. What's this? I jumped over and opened the small box. The next moment, 2 dazzling rings came into his sight. The sparkling diamond rings and his sparkling eyes. I smiled and asked him, do you like this surprise? Outside the office, there were whispers from the employees with a bit of gossip. The evening sunlight was shining in, casting on Jiang Wang. He looked at the rings for a long time before looking up at me, with strong emotions flowing in his eyes. Yes, I do. His voice was hoarse and trembled a bit. I couldn't help but choke up a bit too. Then, Mr. Jiang, would you like to marry me? Just like the language of the flowers, of this bouquet, a confession of love, I was proposing to him. Jiang Wang's fingers trembled as he picked up one of the rings and put it on. Then he picked up the other one and put it on my finger. It wasn't loose and ill-fitting like the ring I had worn before. These 2 rings were custom-made by me personally, and the sizes were just right. When I looked up, I saw the corners of Jiang Wang's eyes were red. He held my hand and said softly, I'm truly fortunate, I sniffled and asked him, when shall we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Right now. When we were preparing for the wedding, it was already approaching the spring festival. My family called me for I don't know how many times. This time, they softened their tone and asked me to go back and have a meal with the family. I thought about it over and over again, and finally, persuaded by Jiang Wang, I went back once. But I didn't expect it to be a feast with hidden intentions. As soon as I entered the restaurant, I saw Shinku at the dining table. My originally fairly good mood disappeared instantly. My father had always treated Shinku with a bit of flattery, and so did my mother. My younger brother was very straightforward and asked me to sit next to Shinku. He also said, "Sister, look, your husband has lost so much weight because of you. Why don't you pick more dishes for him to make up for it?" Shinku didn't say a word and just looked at me quietly. I directly spread my hand on the dining table. The ring on my middle finger sparkled. My younger brother directly praised, "Ah, brother-in-law, the ring you prepared for my sister is so beautiful. When did you two make up? Why didn't you inform me? Have you set the date for the wedding? When are you going to?" Before he could finish his words, Shinku suddenly stood up. One moment he was still maintaining his demeanor, but at this moment, he could no longer keep it. "How can you wear someone else's ring?" His voice was extremely hoarse, his shoulders and neck were tense, and his knuckles gripping the back of the chair turned white from the force. Every part of him revealed his hidden embarrassment. "How could you?" "Of course I can." I took out the marriage certificate from my bag and placed it on the table. The whole room fell silent. Shinku stared fixedly at those two certificates without moving, looking as if he was stunned. My father and mother turned pale. Presumably, the shock was too great, and my father couldn't pretend anymore. He rushed over and slapped me. How could you marry someone else? What will happen to our Wen family in the future?" I covered my painful face and tasted the smell of blood in my mouth. I couldn't help but sneer. "What? Your daughter, can't be sold to the buyer you want anymore. And you can no longer rely on the Shin family's influence. Is that so hard to accept?" They were speechless for a moment and mumbled as they looked at Shinku, but Shinku didn't look at them at all. He slowly moved his gaze from the marriage certificate to my face. "Did you really choose him?" I said. "Yes." After saying that, I looked at the people around me and sneered sarcastically. "This family dinner is really terrible." I picked up my bag and left. It was already dark outside. The snowflakes were falling thick and fast. I was covering my still painful face and hadn't walked a few steps when suddenly someone chased after me from behind. It was Shinku. He firmly grabbed one of my hands, bent his back, and all his pride disappeared at this moment, leaving only humility and pleading. "What on earth do you want me to do for you to come back? I can change everything. All of it. I will." "Stop talking, Shinku. Stop being obsessed with me. You should have a good life with Sunanan now." Shinku's face looked very ugly. "What are you talking about? I have nothing to do with her at all." "Is that so?" I took out my phone and showed him Sunanan's moments. I scrolled from the first post. "Because I said I was cold, Mr. Shin took the initiative to put his coat on me. Mr. Shin is so gentle. Mr. Shin actually took me to Barcelona. It's so beautiful. I like it so much. I like Barcelona. And I also like, thank you, Mr. Shin, for the necklace you gave me. I like it very much. It's my birthday today, and Mr. Shin accompanied me the whole day. I'm really so happy." And the most recent one, my hand was cut by a knife. It hurts so much, but fortunately, with his company, even the pain is a kind of happiness. The more Shinku looked, the more dazed his expression became. "No, I didn't do these things. I didn't do them at all." Still refusing to admit it. I calculated the time and compared it with my previous life's experiences. I sneered sarcastically at Shinku. "What about the child in Sunanan's belly? Is that not yours either?" Shinku's face suddenly turned deathly pale. "You know about that, but I didn't do it on purpose. I was drunk, so You don't need to explain it to me. I was too lazy to care about his love affair. You just need to know that the way you ignored me all those years was real. Your infidelity was real. And it's also true that I don't love you at all anymore." After saying that, it was time for me to go home. I turned around and left. Shinku was about to continue chasing, but he was suddenly punched hard by Jiang Wang, who appeared out of nowhere. Jiang Wang's punch was much heavier than Shinku's before. With one punch, Shinku fell onto the snowy ground and couldn't get up for a long time. Jiang Wang's voice was even colder than the wind and snow. "Stop pestering my lover. If there's a next time, I can't guarantee what I'll do." Jiang Wang had come to pick me up. After hitting Shinku, he regained his gentle expression and even warmed my hands for me. "Are you cold?" "No, let's go home." "Okay." I prepared milk tea for you in the car. Really, Jiang Wang was always so considerate. My bad mood disappeared instantly, and I couldn't help but hug him. What flavor is it? Flat white, your favorite. Wow. As expected, only you understand me best. I was just feeling happy when suddenly an unwilling voice came from behind me. Do you know that he's secretly kept many of your personal belongings since school? He's a pervert. Are you sure you want to be with him? Jiang Wang's face turned pale, and he looked at me with a hint of panic, but I just smiled. So what? I'll still choose him. In Shinku's disbelieving gaze, I took Jiang Wang's arm and pulled him forward affectionately. Come on, darling, let's go home. I can freely enter. Look around, and rummage through anywhere in Jiang Wang's house. There is only one room that is always locked. Jiang Wang is very secretive about the things in that room. Whenever I ask, he just presses his lips together and doesn't reply. But actually, I know what's in there. In my previous life, after he died, I opened that room and saw everything inside. Jiang Wang didn't say a word on the way home. It wasn't until we entered the house that he said a bit nervously, Xiaoyu. Aren't you going to ask me? I just smiled at him. Everyone has secrets. If you don't tell me, it means you're not ready yet. Then I'll just wait until you are. So there's nothing to ask. Jiang Wang lowered his eyes for a moment, then came over and took my hand. Come with me. He took me and opened the door of that room together. The first thing I saw was that the inside of the cabinet was covered with photos. The earliest photos were secretly taken when I was in high school. 10 years have passed since then, but they are still well preserved, only slightly yellowed. There are photos of me running, drinking water, dozing off, reading in the library, doing exercises, from my high school days, through my university years, and after graduation, all the way until before I officially got together with Shinku. Each photo is placed in an exquisite glass frame and hung neatly on the wall, and there are many, many items that once belonged to me. The broken hair tie I used to wear, the broken pendant that was originally hung on my school bag, the earring I accidentally dropped while running, the bracelet that I threw away after it broke, the teddy bear doll that I discarded because it got dirty, and a pack of open sanitary pads. That's when I remembered something. I suddenly got my period during a high school PE class. I had such severe menstrual pain that I was sweating coldly. Shinku asked me about it and then left. I rushed to the restroom in a hurry. I didn't have any sanitary pads at that time, and I was so worried that I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, someone threw a pad in from outside, which solved my crisis. When I got back to the classroom, there was a cup of brewed ginger tea on my desk. I always thought that Shinku had done this, but I didn't expect that the person who helped me was actually Jiang Wang. The memories seemed like they were just yesterday. Jiang Wang watched as I stroked those items that he had treasured for years one by one, and he slowly lowered his eyes. He said softly, Shinku is right. I am a pervert. My secret love for you is sick and dark. I'm like a maggot in the corner, cautiously and greedily peeking at you. I clearly know that you only feel disgust for me, but I still delusionally hope for your pity countless times. I couldn't listen anymore, so I turned around and kissed him. But I like you like this, whether you're sick, paranoid, or crazy, it's all because you love me. From the time we first met 10 years ago to now, 10 years have passed, and many things can change, but only your feelings for me have always been deep and lasting. This feeling is more precious than anything else. Jiang Wang's long eyelashes trembled slightly. Then this room. Don't you blame me. Of course not. I smiled and coaxed him. Not only will I not blame you, but we will also keep filling it up in the future. As I was speaking, I took off the silk scarf around my neck and tied it around the neck of the teddy bear that had been washed clean. Now, it's a witness to our love. When I looked up, I met Jiang Wang's dark eyes. Inside them, there was nothing but deep affection and tenderness that went straight to the bone. He pulled me into his arms. I must have used up all my luck in this life to meet you. Then I must have used up the luck of my next life as well to have the chance to see you again. My Jiang Wang, he never knew. It's such a simple thing to fall in love with him after getting to know him. That night, we were more passionate than ever before. This time, I took the initiative instead of being passive. I was on top, swaying my waist while raising my hand to trace his eyebrows and eyes. I've always thought that Jiang Wang is very contradictory. He is reserved yet passionate, like a fire ignited on an ice field, burning and dazzling, but somehow making people unable to resist getting closer. Jiang Wang panted and asked me, "What are you looking at?" I leaned down and kissed him. "I'm looking at that mole at the corner of your eye. It's seducing me." Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. "Did it succeed in seducing you?" "Yes, it did, for the rest of my life. It and its owner belonged to me." Shinku was crazy and determined to completely crush Jiang Wang, but he forgot that Jiang Wang has always been crazier than him. "Shinku, stepping on the shoulders of his elders, easily obtained everything, while Jiang Wang had to overcome countless difficulties and climb to this height step by step. There's no need to say who has more outstanding abilities. The new projects filled the gaps left by the snatched old projects. And Jiang Wang also poached several veteran employees who were dissatisfied with Shen Ke. Shen Ke made successive mistakes in his anger and impatience, and the stock price of the Shen Corporation kept falling. Now Jiang Wang has the upper hand. Shen Ke came to find me a few more times, but I didn't see him again. I focused all my attention on staying by Jiang Wang's side and being lovey-dovey with him day and night. We stick together at home, we stick together even more in the company. As a result, the employees of his company secretly opened a post on the forum and kept complaining about us showing affection every day. The post has been stacked with more than 2,000 layers. It's really amazing. After a while, I went to the coffee shop again. Chen Rao came back from her trip and was in a good mood. She gossiped with me and talked about Shen Ke. She said that Shen Ke drove Su Nan away in front of many people in the company. Su Nan kept crying and even knelt down for him. But Shen Ke remained unmoved and left without hesitation. I was a bit puzzled. What happened to Su Nan? Why did she fall out of favor? Actually, that Su Nan never really managed to take the place of the mistress at all. Chen Rao glanced at my phone. I specifically made careful inquiries. What Su Nan posts seriously in her moments are all about work. Those sweet daily moments were probably only visible to you. She was just putting on an act to drive you away. Later, I guess she realized that without you, she couldn't become Mrs. Shen either, so she took a risky move and drugged Shen Ke during his business dinner. They slept together for one night, and she wanted to use the pregnancy to secure her position, but Shen Ke hated her so much that he insisted on dragging her to the hospital to have the baby aborted. Tisk tsk, she tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing a handful of rice. I was stunned for a while after hearing this. But I quickly stopped thinking about it. Even if Shen Ke didn't really betray me, his neglect and alienation towards me were real. He didn't deserve my love, and the person who deserves my love is right by my side now. After my parents completely lost the support of the Shen family, they started looking for other powerful allies. They used to look down on Jiang Wang, but now they have to flatter him. I scoffed at this. Jiang Wang clearly felt that disdain and contempt the most, but because of me, he still left some dignity for my parents. He has always been polite and occasionally gives away some of the resources in his hands. I wasn't very happy about this. Jiang Wan then coaxed me. After all, they are still your parents. They brought you into this world, and just for this, it's enough for me to be grateful to them. I mocked him. You're crazy. Jiang Wan then directly picked me up horizontally and walked towards the bedroom. He was quite justified, but you just like this crazy me. Fine, you're right because you're strong and you have the right to speak, because I'm so happy now. I rarely think about the misfortunes of my previous life, until I was drugged and stuffed into a car just like in my previous life. When I woke up, what I saw was a damp and dark place. It turned out to be that warehouse. It was at a completely different time node from my previous life, but it was the same place. The effect of the drug hadn't worn off yet. I was lying on the ground, feeling weak all over, and my heart was filled with tension. How could this be? Clearly, I had already left Shen Ke. Why was I tied up here again? Two male kidnappers were standing not far from me. They were exactly the same two who kidnapped me in my previous life. Just as I was full of doubts, a woman came out from behind them. I widened my eyes. Su Nan, it's actually you. Su Nan no longer had her previous charming appearance. At this moment, she looked haggard and her expression was ferocious as she stared at me viciously. Don't blame me. Who asked you to keep lingering around? I finally managed to drive you away, but Shen Ke's heart still only has you in it. I used all my means to get pregnant with his child. I thought that with this child, he would accept me, but he actually cruelly dragged me to have the baby aborted. I'm in this situation now all because of you. It's all because of you. Listening to her shrill roar, for a moment, I seemed to be back in my previous life, when I was tied up in the car in my previous life. In a daze, I seemed to hear someone talking to the kidnappers. Clearly, Shen Ke doesn't love her, yet she still insists on occupying the position of Mrs. Shen. Only when she's gone can I marry Shen Ke as I wish. At that time, I was only focused on being nervous and scared and didn't pay attention to these words at all. Now, these words slowly overlapped with the current scene, so that's how it was. In both my previous life and this life, the person who harmed me was her. Su Nan hated me even more than in my previous life. She walked towards me step by step, and her high heels made a dull sound on the cement floor when she reached in front of me. She grabbed my hair forcefully. I didn't want to be this cruel to you, but you're so annoying, so, you can just die, go to hell. I grabbed her hand and bit it hard. It wasn't just that she hated me, I also hated her. The hatred of 2 lifetimes combined made me bite so hard that my mouth was filled with the smell of her blood. Sunanan's scream could have lifted the roof. She pushed and kicked me desperately, but I just wouldn't let go. Sunanan was enraged by me, with her other hand. She grabbed my head and slammed it hard on the ground. In the intense pain, I was forced to let go. The angry Sunanan kicked me hard. How dare you bite me? I'll make you die in the most painful way. The successive heavy blows made me dizzy. My vision flickered between light and dark, and my consciousness was briefly blurred. I completely lost my ability to move. I could only watch helplessly as Sunanan walked over to the 2 kidnappers and said something. Then the kidnappers flew into a rage. What did you say? I kidnapped her because you said you'd give us money. You don't have the money, so what do you want us for, you bitch? Are you playing us? You can ask Shinku for it. The 2 kidnappers looked at each other, and a fierce light appeared in their eyes. My heart tightened. Oh no, just like in my previous life, they were going to kill to silence me. One of the kidnappers kicked hard, and Sunanan immediately let out a scream and fell backward. No matter how much I resisted, my seriously injured body couldn't hold up at this moment. My vision gradually blurred and finally went dark. I woke up because of the heat. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw the flames gradually rising around me. They actually set the place on fire. Sunanan was lying not far from me, still unconscious. The thick smoke was billowing, and the heat was unbearable. I dragged my weak body and crawled hardly towards the door. Although the door was also closed, there was no other exit in this warehouse except the door. The fire was too hot, and the smoke was too choking. I hadn't crawled far when I coughed violently and collapsed. Suddenly, I heard a shout getting closer and closer. Xiaoyu, it was Jiang Wang. There was a sound at the door, and then it was opened from the outside. Bright sunlight shone in. The moment Jiang Wang saw me, a look of joy appeared on his face. Ignoring the scorching flames, he rushed in and hugged me tightly in his arms. His heart was beating very fast, his body was shaking violently, and his voice was hoarse and terrifying. Fortunately, I made it in time. I was extremely anxious, afraid that everything from my previous life would repeat itself. The kidnappers, they must be around. Be careful. I know. I arranged for people in advance. The kidnappers have been controlled, and the police are on their way. I was stunned for a moment. How did Jiang Wang know all this? I was weak all over, so Jiang Wang simply picked me up. Just as he was about to take me away, suddenly he looked behind me. His pupils shrank, and he instinctively pushed me away, so I watched in horror as the awakened Sunanan rushed over and, screaming, pushed over a nearby shelf. Jiang Wang, who couldn't dodge in time after pushing me away, was pinned down firmly underneath it. The blood in my body instantly turned cold, and I shouted hoarsely, Jiang Wang. I struggled to get up and pushed Sunanan to the ground with all my strength. How dare you hurt my man? I'll skin you alive. Sunanan was also beaten up and couldn't get up for a while. I ignored her and rushed towards Jiang Wang. Looking at the bleeding wound on Jiang Wang's head, tears welled up in my eyes involuntarily. I wanted to move the shelf on Jiang Wang's back away, but as soon as my hand touched the iron frame, Jiang Wang grabbed my hand. Don't touch it. It's very hot and will scald you. Only then did I notice that the steel frames had turned red from the fire. I suddenly burst into tears. It's so hot. Does it hurt? Don't worry about me. I'm wearing a bulletproof vest that's also stab-proof and fireproof. Jiang Wang pushed me, his tone anxious. My people are nearby, and the police should be here soon. Don't worry about me. Get out first. No. Don't you try to push me away again. Gritting my teeth, I raised my hand to hold the steel frame and tried my best to lift it up. Jiang Wang, I want to go home with you. Seeing this, Jiang Wang didn't say anything more. He propped up his injured body and also tried his best to crawl out. I don't know how long it took. Maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, or maybe even longer, until my vision started to flicker between light and dark. Suddenly Jiang Wang hugged me. He had crawled out. There were several places on his arm where the clothes had been burned through, revealing the burned flesh underneath, but his eyes were only on me. Xiaoyu, don't fall asleep. Let's go home together. I nodded with difficulty, gritted my teeth, and was supported by Jiang Wang as we walked step by step towards the exit. There were many times in the middle when I could hardly hold on, but he was always there to support me, whether in my previous life or this life. He would always come to save me from danger. He was always by my side, just like how the dawn always comes after a long night. Suddenly, a weak and frightened shout came from behind. Don't go, save me, cough cough, save me. It was Sunanan. Her leg was injured when she fell, and now she couldn't walk at all. The fire around her was getting bigger and bigger. and she could only shout desperately for us to save her, but neither Jiangwan nor I looked back. I even cursed through gritted teeth, "Just wait for your retribution, you bitch." In the end, this accident ended with Jiangwan and me suffering minor injuries, Sunannan suffering serious injuries, and the two kidnappers being arrested. It's quite a pity to think about it. At that time, Sunannan crawled forward with her two immobile legs, but there was fire all around her. And the shelf that she pushed towards me blocked the only path without fire. She was trapped in a desperate situation by the evil she had done. When the firefighters rescued her, she was on fire, her beautiful face was ruined, and one of her legs was so badly burned that it had to be amputated. At that time, I was being fed an apple by Jiang Wang. The injury on my head was relatively severe, and it was wrapped in several layers of bandages. My two hands were also wrapped up like Zongzi. Jiang Wang's head injury was very minor, and there were some burns on his arm. Fortunately, it wasn't very serious, and he could still move freely, so he volunteered to take care of me. Shinku also came during this time. I didn't want to talk to him, and surprisingly, he remained silent as well. It wasn't until he was about to leave that he took the initiative to speak. He was apologizing to me. "After your parents came to my house back then, my father asked me to marry you. I stubbornly thought that your family was making you approach me because of self-interest. I didn't want this arranged marriage, so I deliberately distanced myself from you and ignored you. I clearly knew that all of this was arranged by the elders and had nothing to do with you, but I still couldn't help taking my anger out on you. I took advantage of your love for me, so I vented all my negative emotions on you. I was sure that you wouldn't leave me. But it wasn't until you really left that I realized how important you were to me. The one who couldn't bear to part with this relationship was always just me. It's a pity that I only realized this after losing you." Shinku suddenly couldn't continue. There was a hint of a choked sob in his voice. I'm sorry." When he left, Jiang Wang was walking in with a cup of freshly poured hot water. Shinku said to him, "In terms of loving her, I'm indeed not as good as you, Yuan." After saying that, Shinku left. Jiang Wang didn't bother to pay attention to what he said. His eyes were only on me. I fell into a coma soon after escaping from the warehouse that day. The first thing I said when I woke up and saw Jiang Wang was to ask him when he remembered. Yes, Jiang Wang had also been reborn. On the day I was kidnapped, he quickly reacted, called the police in advance, made arrangements for people, and put on a stab-proof and fireproof bulletproof vest. It was clear that he had experienced it before to make so many preparations. Jiang Wang directly admitted it. "Not long after you came to me, I had a dream." Tears suddenly fell. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't think it was necessary." He leaned down and kissed my face, full of love and care. "What happened in the previous life doesn't matter. What matters is this life, and what matters is that you love me." I cried uncontrollably. Jiang Wang coaxed me for a long, long time that day. Now everything is clear, and there are no more secrets between Jiang Wang and me. When I saw him again, I hung my head with a dejected look and raised my two hands wrapped like Zongzi. "When on earth can I be discharged from the hospital? I'm so bored." While feeding me an apple, Jiang Wang said, "Be good, wait a few more days. But I really miss your 8-pack abs and want to touch them so much. Wait until you're better before touching them. I can't even do anything these days. After I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll definitely make you do it with me for 3 days and 3 nights. Jiang Wang quickly blushed and covered my mouth, but he was still too late. Chen Rao, who came to visit me, had just stepped through the threshold when she heard me say such bold words. "Chen Rao." She walked in and silently put down the bouquet of flowers and the fruit basket, staring straight at Jiang Wang and me. Her gaze made me feel uneasy. What are you looking at?" "Under the lemon tree, there are lemon fruits. Under the lemon tree, it's you and me. My life motto from now on is to be the brightest light bulb and eat the best dog food. Show off. You too. Keep showing off." 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital, Sunannan jumped off a building. She was severely burned and had a hard time getting out of bed. I don't know how she managed to climb onto the windowsill. When I heard this news, I felt a bit emotional. In my previous life, I committed suicide in despair, and in this life, it was her turn. Heaven is indeed fair. That night, I had a very chaotic dream. I was walking on my way home from school. Suddenly, I looked back and saw a thin and slender teenager following me from a distance. When he saw me turn around, he instinctively stopped in his tracks, looking a bit at a loss. I reached out my hand to him. "Why are you so far away? Are you a stalker? Come here quickly." The teenager's eyes lit up, and he ran towards me. The setting sun traced 2 long shadows at our feet. On the university campus, a senior was shouting his confession to me downstairs in my dormitory. I went downstairs amidst the cheers and whistles of the crowd and told him loudly, "Sorry, I already have a boyfriend. The senior looked embarrassed. A tall and straight guy pushed through the crowd and came up to me, speaking to the senior in a displeased tone. Sorry, my girlfriend has no intention of changing her boyfriend at the moment. I pouted and added beside him, that's not right. It's not just that she has no intention of doing so at the moment, she will never have that intention in her whole life. The crowd immediately started cheering and whistling for the two of us. The guy beside me blushed slightly. I opened a coffee shop. There were few customers in the afternoon. The sunlight shining through the window was warm, making me feel drowsy as I lay on the table. Suddenly, a familiar and warm breath came from beside me. Something warm and soft gently landed on my lips. Don't sleep anymore. If you sleep now, you won't be able to fall asleep at night. I didn't open my eyes. I directly groped and hugged the person's waist, humming in his arms with my eyes closed. If I can't fall asleep, then I can't. If I can't fall asleep, I'll just sleep with you. The person then started to panic. This is the shop. There are no customers anyway. Even if there are customers, it doesn't matter. I'm even giving them dog food for free. The scenes in the dream kept changing. In the blink of an eye, it was a lifetime. I opened my eyes. A hand reached out beside me and gently touched the corner of my eye. What dream did you have? Why are you crying? I turned over and buried myself in Jiang Wang's arms. I wish I had been reborn at an even earlier time node, then I could have accepted you earlier and not let you go through so much sadness and pain. Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled and kissed me. Meeting you is already a very happy thing. There's no pain at all. This person has always been like this, so good that it makes me feel sorry for him. I looked up and kissed him. Feeling his body temperature gradually rise and his breathing become disordered during our intimacy. Then, Mr. Jiang, who is so happy, shall we do it? Jiang Wang's soft laughter was drowned out by our lips and teeth. Okay, let's do it. The past is just the past, and our future still has a long way to go. Extra chapter. Jiang Wang and I had a quarrel. The reason for the quarrel was that I had gone crazy having fun with Chen Rao. We went to a bar together, and then Chen Rao, in high spirits, ordered several male models. The male model brothers all had broad shoulders, narrow waists, long legs, big chests, six-pack abs, and perky butts, which made us dazzled. Just as Chen Rao and I couldn't help but want to touch them, our respective boyfriends came over with cold faces. Chen Rao looked as if the sky had fallen. I was also carried away silently by Jiang Wang and thrown into the car. On the way home, I sobered up completely. Looking at Jiang Wang's expression, I carefully coaxed him. This really can't be blamed on me. I didn't order those male models. It was Chen Rao. It was all Chen Rao who ordered them. It has nothing to do with me at all. Jiang Wang glanced at me. Is that so? But just now Chen Rao said that you ordered them. Me, Chen Rao, you set me up. Seeing that Jiang Wang's expression was getting worse and worse, obviously very angry, I started to use my trump card, acting coquettishly. I used a sweet voice and wriggled around beside him. Dear husband, I know I was wrong. Don't be angry anymore. Jiang Wang has always been more receptive to softness than toughness. His ears were visibly red, but he still didn't say a word. Oh, he's really angry this time, so I took out my ultimate weapon. I started speaking freely and making risque remarks in the car. Brother, I miss you, but what I miss is not quite right. My mind is full of mosaics now. Brother, can I put my hand inside your clothes? I don't mean anything else. I just want to see if you have a big heart. I'm a bit hungry. Tonight, I only want to eat one dish, which is to take advantage of you. As long as you don't get tired, brother, I can do any position. I was getting more and more excited as I spoke, while Jiang Wang's face was getting redder and redder, and his breathing was getting faster and faster. Finally, he gritted his teeth and couldn't bear it anymore. Just wait until we get home, so. It usually took half an hour to drive home, but today we arrived in 15 minutes. As soon as we got out of the car, he picked me up. We were affectionate all the way until he threw me onto the bed and grabbed my hand to touch his abs. If you want to touch, you can only touch mine. Oh, he's still jealous. I simply wrapped my legs around his waist to tease him. Invited by me, Jiang Wang was already at the point of no return, but at this moment, I silently put a pregnancy test sheet in front of him. Jiang Wang was immediately stunned. Seryu, are you pregnant? Yeah, 2 months already. Then you still. Jiang Wang's expression at this moment was extremely interesting, a rare sight. Joy came first, followed by anger. The strength of his arms holding me instantly lessened, but the kiss that followed could only be described as fierce. When he really couldn't bear it anymore, he let go of me and ran to the bathroom. The sound of rushing water came from the bathroom. I laughed heartily outside the bathroom door. After a while, Jiangwan came out with a damp mist on his body and let out a sigh. You did it on purpose. I did it on purpose. Who asked you to lose your temper with me just now? That night, until I fell asleep, Jiangwan's warm palm was placed on my belly. Xiaoyu, can I be a good father? I softened my voice and placed my hand on his. You are a very, very good husband. So naturally you will also be a very, very good father. Thank you, Xiaoyu. I'm very happy in this life. I looked up and kissed him. So am I. There is no standard answer for happiness, but fortunately, I finally found the answer.